If you're still broke after this, nothing will help you. This is not another motivational talk. This is an activation. For years, you've been told to work harder, think positive, hustle longer, but no one told you how to change the frequency that creates wealth itself. In the next 2 hours, your mind will be rewired for abundance, clarity, and unstoppable creation. By the time this ends, you'll never think or live the same again. This is your final warning and your first awakening. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Lie You Were Born Into. There once was a miner who spent 30 years digging into the side of a mountain. Every morning before dawn, he'd wake, sharpen his tools, and descend into the darkness. His hands bled, his back bent, his lungs filled with dust, and every night he'd emerge with a small pouch of copper, just enough to survive, never enough to thrive. One day, a traveler passed by and asked him, "Why do you dig here?" The miner, confused by the question, replied, "Because this is where my father dug, and his father before him." The traveler climbed higher, looked down, and called out, "But friend, there's gold on the other side of this mountain. You've been digging in the wrong direction your entire life." The miner stared at his calloused hands, at the tunnel he'd carved into nothing, and wept. Not because he'd wasted 30 years, but because he'd never once questioned the direction. You are that miner. Let that sink in. You've been digging in the wrong direction, and you never questioned it because everyone around you was digging there too. Your parents dug there. Your teachers pointed at that mountain and said, "That's where you dig." Society built an entire infrastructure around digging in that exact spot. So you dug and dug and dug, and here you are, broke, exhausted, wondering why the copper never turns to gold. Here's the truth they never told you. Poverty is not a lack of resources. Poverty is a lack of awareness. You don't have a money problem. You have a perception problem. You've been trained since childhood to see the world through a lens of scarcity, limitation, and survival. You were taught that hard work equals money, that trading time equals wealth, that playing it safe equals security. All lies. You've been programmed to trade your time for money instead of trading your vision for reality. Time is the one resource you can never get back, yet you were taught to sell it by the hour. Vision, the ability to see what doesn't yet exist and call it into being, that's what creates empires. But vision doesn't fit neatly into a 40-hour work week, does it? It doesn't come with a pension plan. So they taught you to fear it. They taught you that wanting more is greedy, that dreaming big is foolish, that people like you don't get to have wealth. You get to have enough. And you believed them, not because you're stupid, but because the lie was told by people you loved, reinforced by systems you trusted and repeated so many times that it became your identity. But here's what happens when you inherit beliefs without questioning them. You inherit limitations without knowing they're not yours. Your grandmother said, "Money doesn't grow on trees," and you adopted that scarcity as scripture. Your teacher said, "Be realistic," and you translated that as "dream smaller." Your first boss said, "That's just how it is," and you made peace with mediocrity. None of these beliefs are true. They're just echoes, ghosts of other people's fears passed down like genetic code, and you've been living according to someone else's programming your entire life. The miner spent 30 years digging because he never looked up. He never questioned. He never thought to walk around the mountain and see what was on the other side. And when he finally did, when he finally saw that he'd been digging toward emptiness, while abundance waited just beyond his limited perspective, it broke him. But here's the beautiful part. It also freed him. Because once you see the lie, you can't unsee it. Once you realize you've been digging in the wrong direction, you have a choice. You can keep digging out of pride, out of habit, out of fear of admitting you were wrong. Or you can drop the shovel, turn around, and start walking toward the gold. This audiobook is your traveler on the mountain. I'm here to show you that you've been digging in the wrong direction. And yes, it's going to hurt. Yes, you're going to feel like you've wasted time, but you haven't. Every moment of struggle has prepared you for this awareness. Every hardship has strengthened you for the climb to the other side. So right now, before you go any further, I want you to do something. Get a pen and paper. I'm serious. Pause this if you have to, and write down every single belief you've inherited about money, not the beliefs you've chosen, the ones that were chosen for you. Write, money is, and finish that sentence 10 different ways. Don't think, just write. Let the programming reveal itself. Because until you see the cage, you can't escape it. Until you name the lie, you can't live the truth. And until you realize that poverty is not your reality, but your inheritance, you'll keep digging in the wrong direction, wondering why the copper never turns to gold. The mountain has another side, and the gold is real. But first, you have to stop digging where you are. Chapter 2, The Invisible Cage. Picture a zoo. Not a modern one with spacious habitats and conservation missions, but an old one. The kind with concrete floors and iron bars, where animals pace in circles, their eyes empty, their spirits broken. Now imagine this. One day the zookeeper forgets to lock a cage. The door swings open. Freedom, escape, wild lands waiting just beyond the fence. But the animal doesn't leave. It paces up to the open door, sniffs the air beyond, and then turns back to its familiar corner. It has been caged so long that the bars have become part of its identity. The limitation has become comfort. The prison has become home. You live in that cage, except yours has no bars you can see, no locks you can pick. Your cage is made of thoughts, beliefs, and mental conditioning so deeply embedded that you defend it as reality. This is the invisible cage of financial programming. And the most dangerous thing about it isn't that it exists, it's that you don't believe it does. You tell yourself you're broke because of the economy, because of your education, because you were born in the wrong place to the wrong family with the wrong opportunities. And maybe those things played a role. Maybe life dealt you a harder hand than most. But here's the brutal truth. The reason you're still broke isn't because of what happened to you. It's because of what you decided those experiences meant. Someone told you that you weren't smart enough, and you made that your ceiling. Someone showed you that money was scarce, and you made that your reality. Someone demonstrated that success belonged to other people, and you made that your fate. Those beliefs became your cage. And now, even when opportunity knocks, even when the door swings open, you don't walk through it. You stay where it's safe, where it's familiar, where you know exactly how small your world is supposed to be. Let me be harsh for a moment because you need to hear this. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are a volunteer in your own imprisonment. Every day you wake up and choose to believe the same thoughts that kept you broke yesterday. Every day you reinforce the bars of your cage by telling yourself the same stories about why you can't, why it's impossible, why people like you don't get to have that kind of life. And the system loves it. The matrix of mediocrity thrives when you stay in your cage. When you're too busy surviving to question the game. When you're too exhausted from digging in the wrong direction to look up and see that there's no ceiling except the one you've agreed to. But breaking mental conditioning isn't comfortable. It requires you to question everything, to look at your parents, your teachers, your mentors, your heroes, and ask, what if they were wrong? What if their limitations don't have to be mine? That feels like betrayal, doesn't it? Like you're dishonoring the people who loved you by suggesting their beliefs weren't truth. But here's what you need to understand. Inheriting someone's financial trauma is not love. Carrying their scarcity mindset is not loyalty. Staying small to make them feel better about staying small is not respect. It's just another bar in the cage. The invisible cage works because you can't see it, but you can feel it. You feel it every time you have an idea and immediately think of 10 reasons it won't work. You feel it every time you see someone living the life you want and tell yourself they got lucky, they had connections, they had privileges you don't have. You feel it every time you say, "I can't afford that," before you even consider how you might. That feeling? That's the cage closing tighter around you. That's your programming running its course, keeping you exactly where you've always been. So, how do you break it? How do you escape a cage you can't see? You start by naming it, by dragging it into the light and calling it what it is, a lie. A comfortable, familiar, inherited lie, but a lie nonetheless. Right now, say this out loud. I don't care if you're alone in your car, at the gym, or walking down the street. Say it. I am not my past programming. Say it again. Louder this time. Let it rattle the bars. I am not my past programming. The cage is not locked. It never was. You've been free this entire time. You just didn't know it because you were born inside, and everyone around you was born inside, and the only reality you've ever known was the one they told you was inevitable. But you're awake now, the door is open, and on the other side is everything you were told you couldn't have. So what are you going to do? Stay in the familiar corner where you know exactly how small your life will be? Or step through the door and find out what happens when you stop living according to someone else's programming? The choice has always been yours. You just forgot you had one. Chapter 3. The Matrix of Mediocrity. You wake up, you go to work, you trade hours for dollars, you pay your bills, you buy things you don't need to impress people you don't like, you scroll, you consume. You distract yourself from the gnawing feeling that there's more to life than this endless loop of survival. You go to sleep, you wake up, you do it again. This is the matrix of mediocrity, and you're plugged in. The system doesn't want you rich. It doesn't want you free. It doesn't want you asking questions or building empires or realizing that the game was rigged from the start. The system wants you just comfortable enough to keep playing, but just desperate enough to never stop. It wants you broke, distracted, obedient. Think about it. From the moment you entered school, you were trained for compliance. Sit in rows, raise your hand, wait for permission, memorize information you'll never use. Take tests designed to measure how well you follow instructions, not how well you think. Then you graduated and entered a workforce built on the same principles. Show up on time. Do what you're told. Don't question authority. Trade your finite time for a fixed wage. Climb a ladder someone else built toward a ceiling someone else defined. And if you work hard enough, if you sacrifice enough, if you give the best years of your life to someone else's dream, maybe, just maybe, you'll get to retire at 65 with enough money to survive until you die. That's the promise. That's the dream they sold you, and you bought it because everyone else did. But here's what they didn't tell you. The system benefits when you stay broke. When you're one paycheck away from disaster, you can't afford to take risks. When you're drowning in debt, you can't afford to say no. When you're distracted by bills and obligations and the constant stress of barely making it, you can't afford to wake up and see that there's another way. The matrix of mediocrity feeds on your compliance. It thrives on your exhaustion. It celebrates your resignation to just how things are. You know what's insane? We live in the most abundant time in human history. There's more wealth, more opportunity, more access to information and resources than at any point in existence. And yet, most people are broke, not because resources are scarce, but because awareness is. The real poverty isn't in your bank account, it's in your mind. It's in the way you've been programmed to see the world through a lens of limitation instead of possibility. It's in the way you've been taught that your value is determined by your productivity, your worth by your job title, your freedom by your credit score, all of it designed to keep you running on the hamster wheel, chasing the carrot they dangle but never quite reaching it. And the most brilliant part, they convinced you it was your fault, that if you're broke, it's because you didn't work hard enough, didn't save enough, didn't hustle enough. They made you blame yourself for a game you didn't even know you were playing. So you push harder, you sacrifice more, you hustle yourself into burnout trying to prove you're worthy of the abundance they convinced you wasn't meant for you. And the cycle continues. But here's the crack in the matrix. Awareness equals freedom. The moment you see the cage, you can start dismantling it. The moment you recognize the programming, you can start rewriting it. The moment you understand that the system benefits from your mediocrity, you can start building a life outside of it. This isn't conspiracy, this is structure, and the structure was never designed with your liberation in mind. So right now, I want you to do something radical. For the next 3 days, I want you to practice complete silence about your finances. Don't complain about being broke. Don't explain why you can't afford something. Don't engage in conversations that reinforce your lack. Just observe. Watch how many times you want to mention money. Notice how often you define yourself by what you don't have. Pay attention to how uncomfortable it feels to not reinforce your financial identity. This ritual isn't about pretending you're rich. It's about breaking the unconscious pattern of speaking your poverty into existence every single day. It's about becoming aware of how much energy you spend maintaining your financial reality through language. Because here's the truth, you are not broke because of your circumstances. You are broke because of your consciousness. And the matrix of mediocrity relies on you never realizing the difference. The red pill is awareness. The blue pill is comfort. You already know which one keeps you asleep and which one sets you free. So what's it going to be? Keep scrolling, keep consuming, keep trading your life for survival, or unplug. Wake up and start building something the system never wanted you to see. A life designed on your terms, not theirs. The matrix has you, but only if you let it. Chapter 4. The Shadow of Scarcity. She was 7 years old the first time she learned that wanting more made her bad. It was Christmas morning. She'd opened her presents, modest but thoughtful, and her mother asked if she was happy. She said yes, because she was. But then, with the innocent honesty of childhood, she added, "I wish I had gotten the dollhouse too." Her mother's face changed. Disappointment. Shame. The kind of quiet hurt that makes a child feel like they've committed an unforgivable crime. "You're so ungrateful," her mother said. "Do you know how hard I worked to get you what you got? Some children don't get anything at all. You should be ashamed of yourself." And she was. She learned that day that wanting more was greed, that expressing desire was disrespect, that abundance was something other people deserved, but not her, not people like her. So she spent the next 30 years apologizing for her ambition, shrinking her dreams, feeling guilty every time she wanted something beyond survival. She'd look at expensive things and think, "Who am I to have that?" She'd see people living abundantly and think, "That's not for me." And every time an opportunity came that could have changed her financial reality, she'd sabotage it, not consciously. But the programming ran deep. The shadow of scarcity whispered, you don't deserve this. Wanting more makes you greedy. Stay small, stay humble, stay broke. This is the shadow of scarcity, and it's the most insidious form of poverty because it masquerades as virtue. You were taught that wanting wealth is selfish, that desiring abundance is materialistic, that good people are humble, modest, content with less. They told you that money is the root of all evil, that rich people are corrupt, that poverty is somehow more noble than prosperity, and you internalized it. You made scarcity your identity. You wore your struggle like a badge of honor, proving to the world and to yourself that you were good, moral, deserving of love because you wanted so little. But here's what no one told you. Guilt around wealth is the most effective cage they ever built, because you'll lock yourself in it and throw away the key, all while believing you're being righteous. Let me be clear, there is nothing noble about poverty, nothing virtuous about struggle, nothing honorable about denying yourself abundance while pretending it's humility. That's not humility. That's trauma. That's conditioning. That's the voice of everyone who ever shamed your desire for more, convinced you that wanting a better life was a moral failing. And here's the cruelest part. The people who taught you this weren't trying to hurt you. They loved you. They were protecting you from the disappointment they knew, from the rejection they felt, from the pain of wanting and not receiving. So they taught you not to want. They taught you that the safest way to avoid heartbreak was to never reach for more. But in protecting you from disappointment, they imprisoned you in limitation. The shadow of scarcity doesn't just keep you broke. It makes you complicit in your own poverty. It makes you defend the very beliefs that keep you trapped. It makes you judge people who have what you want, call them lucky or privileged or corrupt, so you never have to confront the fact that you're afraid to have it yourself. Because if you admitted you wanted wealth, really wanted it without apology or guilt, you'd have to face the part of you that was told you didn't deserve it. You'd have to revisit that 7-year-old child who learned that wanting more made her bad. You'd have to feel that shame again, except this time you'd have to reject it, and that's terrifying. So you don't. You keep the guilt. You keep the scarcity. You keep playing small because it's safer than risking the pain of being told you're not worthy of what you desire. But I'm here to tell you, you are worthy. You always have been. And the people who shamed your desire for more weren't wrong because they were cruel. They were wrong because they were scared. So right now, I want you to do something that might break your heart open. I want you to write forgiveness letters, not to send, just to release. Write to your mother, to your father, to the teacher who told you to be realistic, to the friend who called you greedy, to the pastor who said money was evil, to everyone who ever made you feel guilty for wanting more. And in those letters, say this: I forgive you for teaching me to be small. I forgive you for passing on your fear. I forgive you for not knowing there was another way. And I release myself from the obligation to carry your scarcity as proof of my goodness. Because the shadow of scarcity loses its power the moment you stop believing that poverty makes you pure. Wanting more doesn't make you greedy, it makes you human. Desiring abundance doesn't make you selfish, it makes you awake. And building wealth doesn't make you corrupt, it makes you free. The little girl who wanted the dollhouse wasn't ungrateful, she was honest. And she didn't deserve shame. She deserved the world. You still do, so stop apologizing for it. Chapter 5. Breaking the Spell. Look at yourself. Really look, not at your reflection in the mirror, but at the version of you that exists beyond the programming, beyond the conditioning, beyond the lie you've been living. That version of you knows something you've forgotten. You are not your circumstances. You are not your bank account. You are not your job title or your credit score or your zip code. You are not the story you've been telling yourself about why you can't have more. You are the architect of your reality, and every word you speak is a brick in the structure of your life. Let me talk to you for a moment, not as the person you think you are, but as the person you're becoming. The one who's reading this because somewhere deep inside, you knew there was more. The one who's been waiting for permission to stop playing small and start living fully. I see you. I see the exhaustion. I see the years of hustling with nothing to show for it. I see the dreams you've buried because you were told they were impossible. I see the weight of everyone else's expectations crushing the life out of your own vision. And I'm here to tell you, it's over. The old story ends here. The identity built on lack, on limitation, on "I can't because" dies today. Not because I said so, but because you're about to do something radical. You're about to change the language that's been creating your reality. Words are spells. Did you know that? That's where the word spelling comes from. Every time you speak, you cast a spell over your life. You literally call things into existence through language. And for years, you've been casting spells of poverty, limitation, and impossibility. I can't afford that. That's a spell, and every time you say it, you bind yourself tighter to the reality of lack. I'm so broke. That's an incantation, and every time you speak it, you reinforce the identity of someone who will always be broke. That's not for people like me. That's a curse, and you've been cursing yourself into mediocrity your entire life. But here's the beautiful, terrifying truth. If words created this reality, words can create a new one. Starting right now, I want you to break the spell. I want you to catch yourself every single time you're about to speak a phrase of lack, and I want you to replace it with a power phrase. When you want to say, "I can't afford that," say instead, "I choose differently right now." Because the truth isn't that you can't afford it. The truth is you're choosing to allocate your resources elsewhere. Language of choice is language of power. Language of lack is language of victimhood. When you want to say, "I'm broke," say instead, "I'm in transition." Because you're not defining yourself by a temporary circumstance. You're acknowledging the moment without making it your identity. When you want to say, "That's not for me," say instead, "I'm creating the conditions for that." Because you're not excluding yourself from possibility. You're acknowledging the gap and claiming your power to close it. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't toxic optimism. This is identity shift. This is the recognition that you become what you repeatedly declare yourself to be. And for too long, you've been declaring yourself broke, limited, incapable, and unworthy. Now it's time to declare something different. I am abundant, not because my bank account says so, but because abundance is my nature. I am powerful, not because my circumstances reflect it yet, but because power is my birthright. I am wealthy, not because I have millions, but because wealth is consciousness before it's currency. Say these things out loud, right now. I don't care how ridiculous you feel. I don't care if you don't believe them yet. Say them anyway. Because belief doesn't come before action. Belief comes from repeated action. You won't believe you're abundant until you start speaking like someone who's abundant. You won't believe you're powerful until you start choosing like someone who's powerful. You won't believe you're wealthy until you start thinking like someone who's wealthy. The spell is broken the moment you stop reinforcing it. The cage opens the moment you stop defending the bars. The old identity dies the moment you stop giving it your voice. So here's your ritual. For the next 30 days, police your language like your life depends on it, because it does. Catch every phrase of lack and replace it with a phrase of power. Notice every time you're about to reinforce your limitations and choose to declare your possibilities instead. This will feel awkward. It will feel fake. Your mind will resist because it's been running the old program for so long that anything else feels foreign. But push through, because on the other side of that awkwardness is a completely different reality. You are not your past programming. You are not the person who was taught to stay small. You are not the story of lack and limitation. You are the author. You are the architect. You are the spellcaster. And starting now, you're casting a different spell. One of abundance, of power, of worthiness, of expansion. The illusion of poverty ends when you see it for what it is. Just a spell you've been under. And the moment you break it, everything changes. Now that you see the illusion, now that you've named the cage, Now that you understand the programming, it's time to rewrite the code. And that begins with the most powerful thing you possess, your words. Speak yourself into a new reality. The old one no longer has power over you. Chapter 6. The Frequency Factory. Everything is vibration. Your body, your thoughts, your bank account, the chair you're sitting in, the air you're breathing, all of it, matter vibrating at different frequencies, creating the illusion of solid reality. Science proved this decades ago. Quantum physics showed us that at the subatomic level, there's no such thing as solid matter, just energy, just frequency, just waves of possibility collapsing into physical form based on observation and expectation. And if everything is frequency, then wealth isn't something you chase. It's something you tune into, like a radio station that's always broadcasting. You just need to adjust your dial to the right channel. This is the frequency factory, and your mind is the transmitter. Every thought you think emits a frequency into the quantum field. Every emotion you feel creates a magnetic signature, and the universe, not because it's mystical, but because it operates on principles of resonance and coherence, responds by bringing you experiences that match your dominant frequency. You've been operating on the frequency of lack, scarcity, survival, struggle, and the universe, in its perfect responsiveness, has been delivering you more lack, more scarcity, more survival, more struggle. Not because you're cursed, not because you're unlucky, but because you're broadcasting a signal and reality is simply matching it. Think about how a radio works. You don't create the music is already there, transmitted through invisible waves all around you. Your radio just has to be tuned to the right frequency to receive it. If you're tuned to 95.3 FM, you can't complain that you're not hearing the station broadcasting on 101.7. You're literally not calibrated to receive it. Wealth is the same. It's not that money doesn't exist for you. It's not that abundance isn't available. It's that you're tuned to the wrong frequency. You're calibrated to lack, so that's what you receive. But here's the incredible part. You can change the station. You can retune your frequency anytime you want. And when you do, when you shift from the frequency of I don't have to I am abundant, reality has no choice but to reorganize itself around your new signal. Neuroscience backs this up. Your brain operates in different frequencies throughout the day. Beta waves when you're alert and active. Alpha waves when you're relaxed. Theta waves when you're in that dreamy state between waking and sleeping. Delta waves in deep sleep. And here's what researchers discovered. When your brain is in theta state, that drowsy, meditative, deeply relaxed state, your subconscious mind is wide open. It's suggestible. It's programmable. It's the factory floor where your reality gets manufactured. Most people spend their lives in beta, running on stress and survival. They never drop into theta except when they're falling asleep, and by then, they're unconscious. So their subconscious just runs the same old programs, creating the same old reality on autopilot. But when you intentionally access theta state, through meditation, through visualization, through that liminal space right before sleep, you can reprogram the frequency. You can install new beliefs. You can broadcast a different signal. This isn't woo-woo. This is neuroscience meeting quantum mechanics. Your thoughts literally create electromagnetic fields. Your emotions generate measurable frequencies. And when you align your thoughts and emotions in a coherent state, when you think abundance and feel abundant simultaneously, you create a powerful signal that the quantum field responds to. Money doesn't respond to effort. Money responds to resonance. You can work yourself into exhaustion, hustle for decades, grind until you break. And if your frequency is still set to lack, you'll stay broke. But shift your frequency. Align your consciousness with the reality you want, and opportunities, resources, people, and circumstances will begin appearing in ways that logic can't explain, because you're not forcing anything, you're attracting, you're resonating, you're tuned in. So here's your exercise, and I need you to take this seriously, because this is where the shift begins. Every night before bed, when your brain naturally drops into theta, I want you to do a 5-minute visualization ritual. Lie down, close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths. Then, instead of reviewing all the problems of your day, instead of worrying about tomorrow's bills, instead of reinforcing the frequency of lack, I want you to become the frequency of abundance. Visualize yourself already wealthy, not in some distant future, right now. See the bank account, feel the freedom, experience the ease of having more than enough. See yourself making decisions from abundance instead of fear. Notice how your body feels when money is no longer a source of stress. And as you hold that vision, repeat this. I am the frequency of abundance. I am tuned to wealth. I receive easily and effortlessly. Don't just say it. Feel it. Embody it. Let your nervous system experience what it's like to be someone who lives on that frequency, because your subconscious doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. If you feel it vividly enough, your subconscious believes it's real. And once it believes it's real, it starts finding ways to make it real. This isn't pretending. This isn't lying to yourself. This is reprogramming. This is changing the station. This is tuning your frequency to match the reality you want, instead of the reality you've been stuck in. Do this every night for 30 days. 5 minutes. That's it. Just 5 minutes of intentionally broadcasting a different frequency before your brain drops into the factory of sleep, where your subconscious goes to work building tomorrow's reality. You are the frequency factory. You've been manufacturing lack because that's the signal you've been broadcasting. But the moment you change the frequency, the moment you tune into abundance, everything changes. The station has always been there. You just forgot how to find it. Now you remember. So, tune in. Chapter 7. Emotional Alchemy. There was once a merchant in a bustling marketplace. Every day he'd set up his stall and watch as customers flocked to his competitor across the way. The competitor's products weren't better. His prices weren't lower. But somehow he always had a line while the merchant sat alone, watching, seething. Envy consumed him. Every sale his competitor made felt like a personal theft. Every laugh from that other stall felt like mockery. The merchant would go home each night poisoned by bitterness, telling himself stories about unfairness, about luck, about how the universe had favorites and he wasn't one of them. One day, an old woman stopped at his empty stall. She looked at him with knowing eyes and asked, "Why do you waste your energy hating his success when you could use it to create your own?" The merchant, defensive, said, "You don't understand. He has what I want." The old woman smiled. "Exactly. He's showing you what's possible. Your envy is just desire wearing a disguise. Take off the mask." That moment changed everything. The merchant realized his envy wasn't evidence of lack. It was a compass pointing toward his potential. His competitor wasn't the enemy. He was the mirror, reflecting back the version of success the merchant wanted to embody. So he stopped resenting. He started studying. He asked questions. He observed what worked. He took the raw energy of envy and transmuted it into inspired action. Within months, his stall was thriving, not because he copied his competitor, but because he stopped wasting his energy on resistance and started channeling it into creation. This is emotional alchemy, the ancient art of turning lead into gold. Except the lead is your so-called negative emotions, and the gold is the fuel that creates your reality. You've been taught that emotions like envy, anger, frustration, and fear are bad, that you should suppress them, transcend them, rise above them, that spiritual people don't feel those things. that successful people have moved past them. Lies, all of it. Successful people don't eliminate negative emotions, they transmute them. They understand that every emotion, no matter how uncomfortable, is energy, raw, powerful, potent energy. And energy doesn't have morality. It's not good or bad, it's just fuel. The question is, what are you using it to create? Most people feel envy and let it corrode their insides. They see someone with the wealth they want and tell themselves stories about why that person doesn't deserve it, why the system is rigged, why it'll never happen for them. They use the energy of envy to reinforce their victimhood. But an alchemist feels envy and thinks, this is desire showing me what I want. This is my subconscious telling me that this reality is available. This person is proof that it's possible. Now, how do I create my version of that? Same emotion, completely different outcome. Anger? Most people let it destroy relationships and cloud judgment. An alchemist uses anger as rocket fuel. I'm angry at this situation. Good. That means I care enough to change it. Let me channel this intensity into action. Fear? Most people let it paralyze them, keep them playing small, stop them from taking risks. An alchemist recognizes fear as excitement in disguise. My body is activated, my nervous system is engaged. This is the feeling of being alive, of standing at the edge of growth. Let me move toward it, not away from it. Frustration. Most people let it convince them to quit. An alchemist sees it as feedback. I'm frustrated because I'm attempting something difficult. Good. That means I'm growing. Let me adjust my approach and try again. Every single emotion you've been taught to avoid is actually a gold mine, but you've been treating it like poison, pushing it down, numbing it out, pretending it doesn't exist. And in doing so, you've been wasting the most powerful creative force you possess. Because here's the truth. Creation requires energy. Big creation requires big energy. And your most intense emotions, the ones you're most afraid of, contain the most potent fuel. You want to build wealth? You need energy. Where are you going to get it? From feeling mediocre? From staying comfortable? From playing it safe? No. You get it from the fire, from the intensity, from the emotions you've been running from your entire life. So here's your ritual, and it's going to feel strange at first. I want you to transmute one low vibration thought every single day by relabeling it as desire energy. When you feel envy, don't suppress it. Say out loud, this is desire showing me what I want. Thank you for the clarity. When you feel anger, don't explode or implode. Say, this is power wanting to be channeled. Where should I direct this intensity? When you feel fear, don't avoid. Say, this is life force energy preparing me for growth. I welcome it. When you feel frustration, don't quit. Say, this is feedback showing me where to adjust. I'm listening. Stop judging your emotions. Stop making them wrong. Stop wasting energy trying to be some enlightened being who never feels anything uncomfortable. That's not evolution. That's suppression. And suppression creates stagnation. Alchemy creates transformation. And transformation is what you're here for. The merchant could have spent his entire life bitter about his competitor's success. Instead, he used that bitterness as fuel to build his own. The envy didn't go away because he transcended it. It transformed because he channeled it. You have a reservoir of untapped energy sitting inside every emotion you've been avoiding. Anger at your circumstances, fear of failure, envy of others' success, frustration with your progress. Stop treating these emotions like enemies. They're not. They're raw material. They're fuel. They're the lead waiting to be turned into gold. You just need to learn the formula, and the formula is simple. Feel it fully, label it accurately, channel it intentionally. Emotional alchemy isn't about becoming someone who never feels negative emotions. It's about becoming someone who knows how to use them. So next time you feel something uncomfortable, don't run, don't numb, don't suppress. Ask yourself, what is this energy trying to create through me? Then let it. That's the alchemy. That's the gold. That's the frequency of someone who turns everything, even the hard stuff, into fuel for their becoming. Chapter 8. The Subconscious Blueprint. Your subconscious mind is running your life, and you didn't even know it had the controls. Right now, as you listen to this, your conscious mind is paying attention. It's analyzing, judging, deciding whether what I'm saying is true or useful. But your conscious mind only controls about 5% of your daily behavior. The other 95%? That's your subconscious running programs installed decades ago, operating completely below your awareness. And here's the problem. Your financial results are a perfect mirror of your subconscious settings, not your conscious wishes, not your desperate hopes, not your vision board or your affirmations. Your actual real-life money situation is a direct printout of the beliefs and programs running in the background of your mind. If you're broke, it's because your subconscious is programmed for lack. If you're stuck at a certain income level, it's because your subconscious has a thermostat set at that number. If money comes in and immediately goes out, it's because your subconscious doesn't believe you're allowed to keep it. This isn't your fault. You didn't consciously choose these programs. They were installed when you were young, when your brain was in a constant state of theta, that highly suggestible state where everything you observed became programming. You watched your parents fight about money. Program installed. Money causes conflict. You heard your teacher say, "We can't afford that." Program installed. We are people who can't afford things. You saw your father work himself to exhaustion for a paycheck. Program installed. Money requires suffering. You absorbed every single message about money from birth to age 7, and those messages became the blueprint your subconscious has been following ever since. Your conscious mind can want wealth all day long, but if your subconscious believes wealth is dangerous, undeserved, or impossible, it will sabotage every opportunity. It'll make you late to the interview. It'll make you forget to follow up on the lead. It'll make you say the wrong thing to the investor. It'll create bad luck that's actually just self-sabotage running on autopilot. The subconscious is literal. It doesn't reason. It doesn't analyze. It just executes the programs it's been given, and it's incredibly powerful. Neuroscience shows that the subconscious processes about 20 million bits of information per second, while the conscious mind processes about 40. So when your conscious mind says, "I want to be rich," but your subconscious has programs that say, "Rich people are greedy. Money is the root of evil. People like us don't get wealthy." Guess which one wins? The subconscious. Every single time. But here's the good news. You can reprogram it. The same way it was programmed in the first place, through repetition, emotion, and theta state. Your subconscious learns through repetition. Tell it something once, it barely registers. Tell it something 1,000 times, it becomes belief. That's why affirmations work, not because they're magic words, but because they're repeated instructions that eventually override old programs. Your subconscious responds to emotion. A neutral statement has little impact, but a statement charged with feeling, with certainty, with joy, with relief, gets installed much faster. That's why traumatic experiences create instant programming. The emotion stamps it in, and your subconscious is most receptive in theta state, that twilight zone between waking and sleeping, when your analytical mind shuts down and your subconscious opens up like a sponge. So here's how you reprogram the blueprint. Bedtime affirmations combined with theta state programming. Every single night as you're falling asleep, when your brain naturally drops into theta, I want you to repeat these statements, not mechanically, with feeling, with the emotional signature of someone who already has what they're claiming. I am wealthy in all areas of my life. Money flows to me easily and consistently. I am safe having more than enough. My income exceeds my expenses effortlessly. I am worthy of unlimited abundance. Say them slowly, feel each one. Let your body relax into the truth of the words. And as you drift off, let those statements be the last conscious thoughts you have, before your subconscious takes over for the night. Why is this so powerful? Because in theta state, your critical faculty, that part of your mind that argues with new information, is offline. Your subconscious accepts what you tell it without resistance. And then, while you sleep, it goes to work reorganizing your neural pathways around these new instructions. Do this every night for 60 days. 60 days of installing new programming. 60 days of overwriting the blueprint. 60 days of telling your subconscious what reality you want it to create, instead of letting it default to the poverty programs you inherited. And here's what will happen. Opportunities will start appearing that you would have missed before. Ideas will come that you would have dismissed. Risks will feel less scary. Money will start flowing in ways that don't make logical sense. Not because you manifested it through wishful thinking, but because you reprogrammed the operating system that creates your reality. Your subconscious is not your enemy. It's just following orders. The problem is, it's been following the wrong orders. Orders given by people who didn't know what they were doing. Orders that created a blueprint for lack instead of abundance. But you're not a child anymore. You're not helpless. You're not stuck with the factory settings. You have access to the control panel. And starting tonight, you're installing an upgrade. Your financial thermostat is about to be reset. Your self-sabotage programs are about to be deleted. Your beliefs about what's possible for you are about to expand. Not because I said so, but because you're taking control of the 95% that's been running your life unconsciously. You're reprogramming the blueprint, and when the blueprint changes, everything built from it changes too. Your subconscious is listening. What are you going to tell it tonight? Chapter 9. The Law of Expectation. There was a fisherman who went out to sea every morning with the same small net. Day after day, he'd cast it into the water and pull up just enough fish to feed his family and sell a few at the market. Never more, never less. One day, a wealthy merchant watched him and asked, "Why do you use such a small net?" The fisherman looked confused. "This is my net. This is what I have." "But the sea is full of fish," the merchant said. "With a bigger net, you could catch more." The fisherman shook his head. "I only need enough for my family. Why would I want more?" The merchant smiled sadly. "Because your net doesn't determine what the sea contains. It only determines what you're able to receive." The fisherman spent his entire life catching small amounts, not because the abundance wasn't there, but because his net, his capacity to receive, was limited. He didn't expect more, so he never created the conditions to catch more. This is the law of expectation, and it's running your financial life whether you realize it or not. You don't receive what you want. You don't receive what you work for. You don't even receive what you deserve. You receive exactly what you expect to receive. No more, no less. Your expectations function like that fisherman's net. They determine your capacity to receive. And most people are walking around with tiny nets, expecting scraps and then wondering why abundance passes them by. Expectation isn't hope. Hope says, maybe it'll happen. Expectation says, of course it'll happen. Hope is passive. Expectation is active. Hope wishes for a better future. Expectation operates as if that future is inevitable. And here's what neuroscience has discovered. Your brain is a prediction machine. It's constantly scanning your environment, looking for evidence of what it expects to find. If you expect danger, you'll find it. If you expect rejection, you'll create it. If you expect poverty, you'll perpetuate it. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because your expectations determine what you notice, what you pursue, and what you allow in. Psychologists call this the reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters information based on what you've programmed it to look for. When you expect to find money opportunities, your RAS highlights them. When you expect struggle, it highlights obstacles. Same environment, same opportunities. Completely different experience based entirely on expectation. Think about the last time you bought a new car. Suddenly you started seeing that exact car everywhere, right? The car didn't magically multiply. Your RAS just started noticing something it was now primed to see. Your financial expectations work the same way. If you expect bills and struggle, that's what your brain highlights. If you expect abundance and opportunity, that's what becomes visible. But here's the challenge. Most people's expectations are unconscious. They're not actively expecting poverty, but they're not actively expecting wealth either. They're just waiting, hoping, wishing, and the subconscious reads that as, I don't actually believe it's going to happen. So let me ask you, what do you genuinely expect to find when you check your bank account? Relief or anxiety? What do you expect when an unexpected bill comes? Crisis or ease? What do you expect when someone offers you an opportunity? Suspicion or excitement? Your honest answers reveal your net size, and your net size determines what you catch. So here's your ritual. Expectation calibration. Every day, I want you to visualize receiving more than you currently expect. Not in some vague, distant future way. Today, right now, concretely. If you expect $50 to show up, visualize 500. If you expect one opportunity, visualize 3. If you expect struggle, visualize ease. And sit with that visualization until the discomfort dissolves. Because that discomfort, that's your net stretching, that's your capacity expanding. That feeling of this feels too good to be true is just your nervous system adjusting to a new normal. Do this daily. Push the edges of what you expect. Not wildly. You don't need to go from broke to billionaire overnight. Just incrementally expand what feels believable. Because believability is the key. If you can expect it, truly expect it, you can receive it. The fisherman never needed a bigger net. He needed bigger expectations. The sea was always abundant. He just trained himself to expect less. And his reality matched his expectation perfectly. You're doing the same thing. Every time you brace for financial stress, every time you assume the worst, every time you expect just enough to get by, you're casting a small net into an abundant sea. But starting today, you're expanding, not because you're forcing yourself to believe something fake, but because you're training your nervous system to expect more, notice more, and allow more. The law of expectation says, you receive what you expect. So expect more, not as fantasy, as fait accompli, as done deal, as inevitable outcome. Your net is expanding, and the sea has always been full. Chapter 10. The Energy of Receiving. You're terrible at receiving. I know that sounds harsh, but it's true. You've spent your entire life learning how to give, how to earn, how to prove your worth. But no one ever taught you how to receive, and that's why money keeps slipping through your fingers. Not because you don't work hard enough, not because you don't deserve it, but because you haven't developed the capacity to actually let it in. Think about the last time someone gave you a genuine compliment. Did you accept it gracefully? Or did you deflect, minimize, make a joke, or immediately compliment them back so you wouldn't have to sit in the discomfort of receiving? I love your jacket. Oh, this old thing? I got it on sale. You did an amazing job on that project. It was nothing, really. Anyone could have done it. You look beautiful today. No, I don't. I look exhausted. Every single time you deflect a compliment, You're practicing rejection. You're training your nervous system that receiving feels uncomfortable, unsafe, undeserved. And if you can't receive a compliment, how the hell are you going to receive wealth? Money is energy, and energy needs a clear path to flow. When you block receiving in small ways, compliments, gifts, help, gratitude, you create a pattern of resistance that extends to everything, including money. This is why some people make a lot of money but can't keep it. They're great at generating, terrible at receiving. The money comes in and they immediately find ways to get rid of it. Bills they suddenly notice, emergencies that conveniently appear, investments that fail, not because they're unlucky, but because their nervous system isn't calibrated to receive and hold abundance. Receiving is a skill, and like any skill, it requires practice. You can't wait until the big money shows up to learn how to receive it. You have to start now with the small stuff. So here's your practice. Micro-receiving. For the next 30 days, I want you to practice receiving in every small interaction. When someone compliments you, say, "Thank you," and nothing else. No deflection, no self-deprecation, no immediate reciprocation. Just receive it. Feel it land. Let it in. When someone offers to help you, accept it, even if you don't need it, even if you could do it yourself. Practice letting someone give to you without earning it, justifying it, or immediately repaying it. When you find money, $1 on the street, a forgotten 20 in your pocket, receive it with gratitude instead of brushing it off as insignificant. That dollar is the universe testing your receptivity. If you can't receive it joyfully, why would it send more? When someone buys you coffee, lets you merge in traffic, holds the door, receive it, acknowledge it. Let yourself feel the goodness of being given to without having to do anything to deserve it. Because that's the core wound. You've been taught that you have to earn everything, that receiving without working for it is lazy, entitled, undeserved. So you hustle yourself into exhaustion, trying to prove you're worthy of what you already are worthy of. But wealth doesn't come to people who are best at earning. Wealth comes to people who are best at receiving, who can hold it, who can let it in without guilt, without sabotage, without immediately finding ways to give it away, so they don't have to feel the discomfort of having more than they're used to. Your nervous system has a set point, a level of abundance it's comfortable holding. Go beyond that set point and it freaks out. It creates chaos to bring you back to the familiar level of lack. That's why lottery winners go broke. That's why people who suddenly inherit money lose it. That's why you might make more money but somehow still feel broke, because your set point hasn't increased. Your capacity to receive hasn't expanded, but micro-receiving changes that. Every time you accept a compliment, you're expanding your capacity. Every time you let someone give to you, you're reprogramming your nervous system. Every time you receive without deflecting, you're training yourself to hold more. And here's what happens. As your capacity increases in small ways, it expands in big ways. As you get comfortable receiving compliments, you get comfortable receiving opportunities. As you get comfortable receiving help, you get comfortable receiving wealth. Because it's all the same energy, it's all the same practice, and you're either someone who lets good things in, or you're someone who deflects them. There's no in-between. So start now. Start small. Start with the compliment, the gift, the gesture. Receive it fully. Let it land. Feel the discomfort of being given to without earning it. And sit in that discomfort until it becomes comfort. This is the bridge between Acts 2 and 3. You've reprogrammed your inner world. You've changed your frequency, transmuted your emotions, rewired your subconscious, expanded your expectations. Now you need to learn to receive what all that inner work creates, because the universe is about to start delivering opportunities, resources, money, abundance. And if you can't receive it, if you deflect it, minimize it, or sabotage it, It'll pass right through you and find someone whose nervous system is calibrated to hold it. Don't let that be your story. You've done the inner work. Now learn to let it in. That's the final piece. That's the energy of receiving. And it starts with saying thank you without a single word after it. Now you've reprogrammed the inner world. Now let's master how to move it outward. Chapter 11, The Wealth Architect. The poor react, the rich design. That's the fundamental difference. It's not intelligence. It's not privilege. It's not luck or connections or being in the right place at the right time. The difference between wealth and poverty is the difference between creating your reality and responding to someone else's. Most people wake up and react. They react to their alarm clock, their boss's demands, their bills, their obligations. They spend their entire lives in reactive mode, putting out fires, responding to urgencies, managing crises that other people created. They're players in someone else's game, following someone else's rules, building someone else's dream. The wealthy operate differently. They design, they architect, they create the structures, systems, and realities that other people respond to. They don't wait for opportunity, they engineer it. They don't hope for change, they build it. They don't react to the world, they construct the world they want to live in. This is what it means to be a wealth architect, not someone who chases money, but someone who designs a life so aligned with their vision that money flows as a natural byproduct. Vision isn't a luxury. It's not something you indulge in after you've made money. Vision is the foundation. It's the blueprint. It's the architect's drawing before the first brick is laid. And without it, you're just wandering around hoping someone will tell you what to build. Here's what most people don't understand. Hustle without vision is just expensive motion. You can work 18-hour days, sacrifice your health, grind yourself into dust, and still end up broke if you're building toward the wrong destination, because effort doesn't equal outcome. Aligned effort equals outcome. And alignment only happens when you have a crystal clear vision of what you're building. The wealthy don't outwork the poor, they outvision them. They see 10 years ahead while everyone else is staring at tomorrow. They design the end result first, then reverse engineer the steps. They operate from the future, pulling resources toward a vision so compelling that reality reorganizes itself to match it. Think about the greatest creators in history. Steve Jobs didn't react to the computer market. He designed a future where technology was beautiful, intuitive, human. Elon Musk didn't react to the car industry. He architected a reality where electric vehicles were inevitable. Oprah didn't react to television. She created a media empire built on her vision of human potential. None of them hustled harder than everyone else. They visioned clearer. And that clarity became magnetic. It attracted resources, people, opportunities, and money toward the architecture they were building. So how do you become a wealth architect instead of a financial reactor? You start by designing your future identities, not goals, not outcomes, identities, because identity is destiny. You become what you repeatedly declare yourself to be. Here's your exercise, and this is where the design phase begins. I want you to create your wealth blueprint by defining 3 future identities. Not who you are now, who you're becoming. First identity, the present architect. Who are you becoming in the next 12 months? What does that person do daily? How do they think? What do they value? How do they spend their time? Write it in present tense as if you're already them. I am someone who... Don't make it about money. Make it about identity. I am someone who creates value effortlessly. I am someone who makes decisions from abundance. I am someone who builds systems, not just completes tasks. Second identity, the emerging empire. Who are you becoming in 3 years? What does your life look like? What have you built? What legacy are you constructing? Again, write in present tense, embody it. I am someone who owns multiple income streams. I am someone whose name is synonymous with excellence in my field. I am someone who impacts thousands through my work. Third identity, the visionary legacy. Who are you becoming in 10 years? What will people say about you? What will you have created that outlives you? This is your ultimate architecture, your magnum opus, your why. I am someone who revolutionized how people think about wealth. I am someone who built generational freedom for my family. I am someone whose vision changed an industry. Write these 3 identities down. Make them vivid. Make them specific. Make them so real that your nervous system starts believing they already exist. Because to your subconscious, there is no future. There's only now. And if you can embody these identities now, in your thoughts, your language, your decisions, you collapse the timeline between who you are and who you're becoming. This is the blueprint. This is the architecture. This is what separates designers from reactors. The poor wake up and ask, what do I have to do today? The rich wake up and ask, what am I building? The poor react to circumstances. The rich create circumstances that others react to. You're not here to respond to life. You're here to design it. You're not here to manage someone else's vision. You're here to architect your own. And that begins with clarity about who you're becoming. Because once you know who you're building yourself into, once you have the blueprint clear in your mind, every decision becomes simpler. Every opportunity gets filtered through the question, does this align with my architecture or distract from it? And opportunities that align, they start appearing everywhere, not because the universe suddenly favored you, but because you're no longer reacting, you're designing. And designers see possibilities that reactors miss. Your wealth blueprint is not a dream, it's not a wish. It's an architectural plan for the future you're constructing, starting today. The wealthy aren't lucky. They're not special. They're just better architects. They design with vision, build with consistency, and refuse to react to anything that doesn't serve the structure they're creating. So, design, don't react. Don't hustle aimlessly. Don't grind without direction. Architect your future. Define your identities. Draw your blueprint. And then, starting tomorrow, start building. Because the world doesn't need more reactors. It needs architects, and you just became one. Chapter 12, Momentum Magic. There was once a clockmaker who was obsessed with time. Not measuring it, creating it. He believed that time wasn't a constant flowing river, but something that could be bent, expanded, and designed. So every morning at dawn, he would enter his workshop and work on a single clock. Not to completion, not to perfection, just progress. One gear, one mechanism, one small advancement toward the vision of a timepiece so precise it could measure moments no one else could perceive. People mocked him. You've been working on that clock for years. When will it be finished? But the clockmaker understood something they didn't. He wasn't building a clock. He was building momentum, and momentum, once created, becomes its own form of magic. After 5 years of daily disciplined work, the clock was complete. And when it began ticking, something extraordinary happened. The clockmaker's entire workshop transformed. Ideas flowed effortlessly. Other projects completed themselves. Wealth began appearing in ways that made no logical sense. It was as if the consistent act of creation had opened a portal and abundance was now pouring through it. The clockmaker hadn't just built time. He'd built a life governed by momentum. And momentum is the secret force that separates the wealthy from the struggling. Here's what nobody tells you about success. It's not built on inspiration. It's built on momentum. Inspiration is a spark. Momentum is a fire. And fire doesn't care how you feel. It just burns. Most people operate in cycles. They get inspired. They work hard for a few days. They burn out. They stop. Then they wait for inspiration to strike again. And while they're waiting, their momentum dies. So they're constantly starting from zero, pushing the boulder uphill every single time. The wealthy understand that momentum compounds, that the first day of creation is the hardest. The second day is slightly easier. By day 30, the work is flowing. By day 90, opportunities are finding them. By day 365, they've created a gravitational field so strong that money, resources, and people are pulled toward them effortlessly, not because they're special, but because they've built momentum, and momentum is magic. Neuroscience explains why. When you repeat an action consistently, your brain creates neural pathways that make that action automatic. The first time you do something, it requires enormous willpower. By the 100th time, it requires almost none. You've literally rewired your brain to make creation effortless. But it's more than neuroscience. There's an energetic component. Every day you show up and create, write, build, design, serve, sell. You're sending a signal to the universe that says, I'm serious, I'm committed, I'm not going anywhere. And the universe responds, not immediately, but inevitably, because the universe rewards consistency, not intensity. It rewards the person who shows up for an hour every day over the person who shows up for 12 hours once. Think about compound interest. $1 invested daily doesn't seem like much, but over decades it becomes millions. Not because any single day was extraordinary, but because the consistency created exponential growth. Your creative energy works the same way. 1 hour of focused creation daily doesn't feel significant, but over months and years, it becomes unstoppable momentum. It becomes a body of work. It becomes a reputation. It becomes wealth. So here's your ritual, and this is non-negotiable if you're serious about becoming wealthy. The momentum hour. Every single morning before you check your phone, before you consume anyone else's content, before you react to the world's demands, you spend 1 hour creating, not consuming, not researching, not planning, creating, writing, building, designing, selling, producing, making something that didn't exist before you sat down. And here's the critical part. No external input. Your momentum hour is sacred. It's the hour where you connect with your vision, your creativity, your genius without contamination from the outside world. Because the moment you check your email, scroll social media, or read the news, you've handed your energy to someone else's agenda. The momentum hour is yours. It's where you build the architecture you designed. It's where you take the blueprint and make it real. 1 brick at a time, 1 page at a time, 1 product at a time, 1 conversation at a time. It doesn't matter what you create, it matters that you create, because creation generates momentum, and momentum generates wealth. Most people spend their mornings in reactive mode, checking emails, responding to texts, consuming content, putting out fires, and by the time they get to their own dreams, their own visions, their own creations, they're exhausted. So they tell themselves they'll do it tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes. The wealthy do it backward. They create first. They build their empire in the morning, and then, with momentum already established, they handle the reactive tasks, because by then they've already won the day. They've already moved their vision forward. Everything else is just maintenance. The clockmaker understood this. He didn't wait until he had time. He didn't wait until he felt inspired. He showed up every single morning and worked on his clock. And that consistency didn't just build a timepiece. It built a life. Momentum is magic because it transforms effort into ease. The first week of your momentum hour will be hard. You'll resist. You'll want to check your phone. You'll have 1,000 reasons why you should do it later. Push through because week 2 is easier. Month 2 is effortless. Year 2 is unstoppable. And here's what happens at unstoppable. Opportunities appear. Resources materialize. Money flows, not because you're working harder, but because you've created a momentum field so powerful that abundance has no choice but to respond to it. The struggling spend their lives reacting. The wealthy spend their lives creating. And creation requires momentum, and momentum requires one thing: consistency. So tomorrow morning, before anything else, you have your momentum hour. No excuses, no delays, no waiting for perfect conditions. You show up, you create, you build, and you do it again the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that, until momentum is no longer something you have to create. It's something that carries you. That's the magic. That's the secret. That's how time itself bends in your favor, not because you worked the hardest, but because you showed up the most consistently. The clock is ticking, but you're the clockmaker now. So build. Chapter 13, The Quantum Cash Flow. Here's something they don't teach in school. Money exists in a quantum state until you observe it. It's not out there in a fixed amount waiting to be divided up. It's a field of infinite possibility collapsing into physical form based on your observation, expectation, and vibrational frequency. Welcome to the quantum cash flow, where physics meets finance and everything you thought you knew about making money gets obliterated. Quantum mechanics revealed something revolutionary. At the subatomic level, particles don't exist in fixed states. They exist in superposition, all possible states simultaneously, until they're observed. The act of observation collapses the wave of possibility into a single physical reality. This isn't philosophy. This is proven science. The famous double-slit experiment showed that electrons behave differently when they're being watched. They exist as waves of probability until observation forces them to choose a position. And if matter itself responds to observation, what makes you think money, which is just energy with an assigned value, operates any differently? Your financial reality is not fixed. It's not predetermined. It's not limited by what currently exists in your bank account. Your financial reality is a quantum field of infinite possibilities, and you, through your observation, focus, and vibrational frequency, collapse those possibilities into physical form. This is why two people can have the same education, same opportunities, same starting point, and end up with completely different financial outcomes. Not because one got lucky, but because one was observing wealth while the other was observing lack. One collapsed the quantum field into abundance. The other collapsed it into scarcity. Your attention is creative. What you focus on expands. What you observe becomes real. What you expect to find materializes. This isn't motivational speech. This is quantum physics applied to your bank account. But here's where most people go wrong. They observe their current lack and call it reality. They look at their empty bank account, their debt, their struggle, and say, "This is my reality." And in that moment of observation, they collapse the quantum field into more of the same. They take infinite possibility and reduce it to current circumstances. You're doing this every time you check your bank account with anxiety. Every time you say, "I'm broke." Every time you look at your financial situation and declare it permanent. You're observing lack, and the quantum field is responding by giving you more to observe. But the wealthy operate differently. They observe the money before it arrives. They focus on the wealth that exists in the quantum field of possibility. They collapse the wave function through vision, expectation, and aligned action before there's any physical evidence. This is what visualization really is. It's not wishful thinking, it's quantum observation. You're looking at the reality you want with such focus and intensity that you're forcing the wave of possibility to collapse into that specific form. And it works, not because you're magical, but because you're applying the observer effect to your financial reality. So here's your daily practice. And this is where you become a quantum wealth creator. Every single day, I want you to do a visualization as an energetic transaction, not a daydream, not a hopeful wish. An actual energetic exchange where you observe the money, feel it, interact with it, and collapse it into physical form. Close your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths. Now visualize your bank account with the exact amount you want to see. Don't visualize receiving it someday. Visualize it there right now. See the numbers. Feel the relief. Experience the freedom. And as you hold that vision, repeat, money is a mirror, not a master. Money is a mirror. It reflects your consciousness, your frequency, your observation. You are not chasing it. You are not begging for it. You are observing it into existence by becoming the vibrational match for it. Money is not a master. It doesn't control you, define you, or determine your worth. It's energy responding to your signal. It flows toward the frequency you emit. And when you stop treating it as master and start treating it as mirror, everything shifts. This is cinematic. This is epic, because you're not just changing your mindset. You're literally working with the fundamental fabric of reality. You're using the same principles that create galaxies, that form atoms, that collapse waves into particles. You're becoming a conscious creator in the quantum field. But here's the critical piece. Observation alone isn't enough. You need aligned action. Because the quantum field responds to coherence, when your thoughts, emotions, and actions are all broadcasting the same signal. You can't visualize wealth and then go spend your day complaining about money. You can't observe abundance and then speak scarcity. You can't collapse the quantum field into prosperity and then act from lack. Coherence means your entire being, thought, feeling, word, deed, is aligned with the reality you're collapsing into form. And when you achieve that coherence, when you become a unified field of abundance frequency, the money has to show up. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, because you've already collapsed it in the quantum field. The physical manifestation is just catching up. The quantum cash flow isn't about working harder. It's about observing smarter. It's about understanding that you're not living in a fixed reality. You're living in a field of infinite possibility, and every moment you're choosing which possibility to collapse into form. Most people collapse lack because that's what they're observing. But you're different now. You understand the game. You understand that you're not a victim of circumstance. You're a quantum observer, collapsing waves of possibility into physical form through the power of your focus. So observe wealth. Feel abundance, expect prosperity, not as fantasy, as quantum mechanics, as the observer effect applied to your financial reality. The particles are waiting for you to choose. The wave is ready to collapse. The infinite possibilities are hovering in superposition, ready to become physical the moment you observe them with conviction. What will you observe into existence today? The same old lack? Or the wealth that's been waiting in the quantum field for you to finally see it? You're not manifesting, you're collapsing. You're not attracting, you're observing. You're not hoping, you're creating through the most fundamental law of physics. What you observe becomes real. So observe abundance. The quantum field is listening, and money is just waiting for you to look at it with eyes that see possibility instead of limitation. The quantum cash flow is open. Step into it and watch reality reorganize itself around your observation. Chapter 14. Sacred Exchange. She was a healer, a gifted one. People came from miles away seeking her touch, her wisdom, her ability to see into their pain and guide them toward wholeness. But she was broke, always broke, and she wore her poverty like proof of her purity. One day, after a particularly powerful session, her client, a wealthy woman whose chronic pain had finally released, pulled out her checkbook. "What do I owe you?" The healer hesitated. "Whatever you feel is right." The woman wrote a check for $10,000, and as she handed it over, she saw the healer's face change. Shame, guilt, discomfort. The healer accepted the check but immediately began apologizing, diminishing her work, explaining that she didn't really deserve that much. The wealthy woman stopped her. "Do you know why you're broke? Not because you lack skill, but because you're ashamed of receiving. You just freed me from years of suffering, and you're apologizing for being paid. You're telling the universe that your service has no value, and the universe is believing you." The healer went home that night and wept, not because she was offended, but because she was seen. She'd spent her entire life believing that spirituality and money were opposites, that charging for her gifts was greedy, that true healing should be free, that profiting from her purpose made her impure. But in that moment she realized money wasn't the opposite of spirituality. Money was love in motion. It was energy exchanged. It was the way the universe said, "You created value. Here's the physical representation of that value so you can continue creating." This is sacred exchange. And until you understand it, you'll stay broke no matter how talented you are. Selling is not manipulation. Receiving money is not greed. Charging for your gifts is not corruption. These are lies that keep good people poor and ensure their brilliance dies in obscurity. Let me be clear, if you have a skill, a gift, a vision that improves people's lives and you refuse to charge appropriately for it, you're not being humble. You're being selfish because you're limiting the number of people you can serve. You're ensuring you'll burn out. You're making your gift unsustainable. And worse, you're training people to devalue transformation. When you charge nothing or charge too little, you teach people that the work has no value, that their transformation isn't worth investing in, that they don't have to take it seriously because they didn't sacrifice anything to receive it. Sacred exchange honors both parties. The person receiving your gift invests in their transformation. That investment creates commitment, and commitment creates results. The person offering the gift receives resources to continue serving. Those resources create sustainability, and sustainability creates impact. It's not transactional, it's sacred, because both people leave the exchange more whole than when they entered it. But most people have been programmed to see money as dirty, especially people with gifts. Healers, teachers, artists, creatives. They've been told that charging for their work makes them sellouts, that real artists suffer for their craft, that spiritual people should be above material concerns, all designed to keep the gifted people broke and powerless, because broke people can't change systems. Broke people can't scale their impact. Broke people can only help a handful, while the corrupt and greedy control the resources and shape the world. You want to change the world? Get rich. You want to heal humanity? Build wealth. You want to create massive impact? Master sacred exchange. Because money is just amplification. It amplifies who you already are. If you're greedy, money makes you more greedy. If you're generous, money makes you more generous. If you're impactful, money makes you more impactful. The question isn't whether you should have money. The question is, what will you do with it? And if your answer is serve more people, create more beauty, generate more healing, build more freedom, then you have a moral obligation to get wealthy. Sacred exchange recognizes that receiving money is not taking from others. It's allowing the universe to reward you for your service so you can continue serving. It's the cycle of giving and receiving that keeps energy flowing. When you give without receiving, you deplete yourself. When you receive without giving, you stagnate. But when you give and receive in balanced exchange, you create a vortex of abundance that lifts everyone involved. So here's your nightly ritual, and I want you to say this out loud before you sleep. I serve with power, and the universe rewards me with grace. I serve with power. You're not playing small. You're not apologizing. You're bringing your full genius, your complete gift, your highest self to your work. You serve powerfully, because anything less is an insult to the people you're meant to help. And the universe rewards me with grace. You're not forcing, you're not hustling yourself into exhaustion. You're trusting that when you serve powerfully, the universe responds gracefully with resources, opportunities, and money. Say it every night. Let it sink into your subconscious. Let it rewire the guilt, the shame, the programming that told you money and purpose were enemies. They're not enemies, they're partners. Money is how the physical world honors your service. It's how the universe says, you created value. Here's the energy to create more. The healer went on to build a thriving practice, not because she became greedy, but because she finally understood that receiving money for her gifts allowed her to help more people, train more healers, and create a legacy of transformation that would outlive her. She stopped apologizing for her value. She stopped charging too little. She stopped wearing poverty as proof of purity. And the moment she embraced sacred exchange, abundance flooded in, not because she got lucky, but because she finally understood selling is spiritual. Receiving money honors the universe, and the exchange, when it's sacred, heals both the giver and the receiver. So stop apologizing for your gifts. Stop undercharging for your value. Stop believing that struggle makes you noble. It doesn't. It just makes you broke. Serve powerfully, receive gracefully, and trust that sacred exchange is how you change the world, not in spite of money, but because of it. Chapter 15. The Infinite Marketplace. The marketplace is not finite. This is the biggest lie they ever told you. They made you believe that there's only so much to go around, that if someone else wins, you lose. That success is a pie with limited slices, and you better grab yours before someone else does. All designed to keep you competing instead of creating. All designed to keep you fighting for scraps instead of building empires. All designed to keep you thinking small in a universe that's infinite. Here's the truth. Opportunities don't decrease when people succeed. They multiply. Value doesn't diminish when it's shared. It expands. The marketplace isn't a battleground, it's a garden. And in a garden, when one plant thrives, it doesn't take from the others. It enriches the soil. Every single person who creates value aligned with purpose doesn't take from the marketplace. They expand it. They create new demand. They awaken new desires. They make the entire ecosystem more abundant. Think about it. Before the iPhone existed, there was no market for apps. Steve Jobs didn't compete for existing money. He created an entirely new marketplace. Billions of dollars that didn't exist before he had a vision. Before Airbnb, there was no market for home sharing. Before Uber, there was no market for ride sharing. Before your unique gift, your specific genius, your particular vision, there's no market for what only you can create. You're not competing with anyone. You're creating a category of one, and categories of one don't fight for market share. They define the market. But this only works when what you're selling is aligned with your soul. When your product is an extension of your purpose. When the exchange is sacred because it's authentic. Most people try to sell what they think will make money. They study markets, identify gaps, create products designed to appeal to the masses, and they wonder why it feels like pushing a boulder uphill, why the sales don't come, why the money stays stuck. Because the marketplace responds to authenticity. People can feel when you're selling something you don't believe in. They can sense when you're hustling from desperation instead of serving from overflow. They can tell when your product is a strategy instead of a calling. But when what you're selling is the truest expression of who you are. When your service is so aligned with your soul that you do it for free, but you're wise enough to charge for it. When your product is the answer to the question your life has been asking. That's when the marketplace opens up. That's when opportunities multiply. That's when wealth becomes inevitable. So here's your defining exercise. What is your sacred product? not what you think you should sell, not what's trending, not what some guru told you would make you rich. What does your soul sell to the world? What's the thing you've lived through, learned, mastered, or created that nobody else can replicate? What's the wisdom encoded in your struggle? What's the gift hidden in your wound? What's the value you generate just by being fully yourself? Your sacred product isn't something you invent. It's something you discover. It's already there, waiting for you to name it, claim it, and offer it to the world. Maybe you survived something that almost destroyed you, and now you guide others through that same darkness. That's your sacred product. Maybe you see patterns nobody else sees and can synthesize complexity into clarity. That's your sacred product. Maybe you create beauty that heals, joy that liberates, or systems that transform. That's your sacred product. Whatever it is, it's not generic. It's not replicable. It's not something AI can generate or someone else can copy. It's the intersection of your gifts, your experiences, your perspective, and your purpose. And there are people, millions of them, who need exactly what you have, but you have to claim it, you have to name it, you have to package it, price it, and put it into the world without apology. Because the infinite marketplace doesn't reward the timid. It doesn't respond to people who play small, hide their gifts, or wait for permission. It responds to those who step forward with conviction and say, "This is what I bring. This is the value I create. This is my sacred product, and if it resonates with you, let's exchange." And here's what happens when you offer your sacred product. You don't have to convince anyone. You don't have to manipulate, pressure, or chase. The right people feel the resonance immediately. They recognize truth when they encounter it. They sense alignment when they see it. And they say yes, not because you're a great salesman, but because what you're offering is the answer they've been searching for. This is high-energy creation. This is the crescendo. This is where everything you've learned, the reprogramming, the frequency shift, the subconscious rewiring, the momentum building, the quantum observation, comes together in the form of your sacred offering to the world. You are not here to compete. You're here to create. You're not here to fight for scraps. You're here to expand the marketplace by bringing something into existence that never existed before. You're not here to take. You're here to generate. And generation is infinite. Creation is limitless. Value aligned with purpose doesn't run out. It multiplies. The infinite marketplace is waiting for you to show up with your sacred product, not someday, not when you're ready, not when you have it all figured out. Now. Because the world doesn't need another copycat, another generic solution, another hustler chasing trends. The world needs you, fully expressed, fully aligned, fully committed to offering what only you can offer. So what is it? What's your sacred product? Define it, claim it, price it appropriately because value deserves to be valued, and put it into the world with the confidence of someone who knows that opportunities don't decrease when you succeed. They multiply. The marketplace is infinite, and you just expanded it by being brave enough to offer your truth. Now, watch what happens when aligned purpose meets sacred exchange in an infinite field of possibility. This is how the rich think, move, and create differently. They don't fight for what exists. They create what doesn't. And in doing so, they make everyone wealthier, including themselves. Now, go create. Chapter 16. The Abundance Identity. There was once a beggar who sat outside the temple gates every day, holding out his cup for coins. He had a recurring dream, vivid and beautiful. In the dream, he discovered a mountain of gold hidden beneath the temple steps. Every night he'd dream it. Every morning he'd wake and resume begging. One day, a mystic sat beside him and asked, "What do you dream of?" "Gold," the beggar said. "Mountains of it buried beneath these very steps." The mystic smiled. "Then why do you beg?" "Because I'm just a beggar. The gold is only a dream. The mystic pointed to the sun blazing overhead. Do you see that sun? Of course. It doesn't dream of being the sun. It doesn't hope to one day shine. It doesn't manifest light. It is light. And because it knows what it is, it radiates without effort. You dream of gold because you've forgotten what you are. The beggar looked confused. What am I? You are the sun. You are the gold. You are the abundance you're begging for. The mountain isn't beneath the steps. It's inside you. You've been sitting on the treasure your entire life, holding out a cup for crumbs. This is the moment everything shifts. This is where you stop manifesting abundance and start embodying it. This is where you realize you were never separate from wealth. You were just convinced you were. The abundance identity isn't something you achieve. It's something you remember. You don't become abundant. You realize you already are. You always have been. You just forgot because the world trained you to see yourself as lacking, limited, dependent on external circumstances for your worth. But here's the truth they never told you. You are not trying to attract wealth. You are wealth. You are not trying to manifest money. You are the source from which money flows. You are not reaching for abundance. You are abundance expressing itself in human form. This isn't metaphor. This isn't spiritual bypassing. This is the recognition that everything you've been seeking outside yourself has always existed within you. The power, the value, the creativity, the magnetism, the abundance. All of it already there, just waiting for you to stop looking elsewhere and recognize what you've always been. Think about the sun. It doesn't worry about whether it's shining enough. It doesn't question its value. It doesn't compare itself to other suns. It doesn't hustle to prove it's worthy of radiating. It just is. And because it knows what it is, the entire solar system organizes around it. Planets orbit, life flourishes, energy flows. You are that sun, but you've been acting like a beggar, holding out a cup, hoping someone will give you permission to shine, hoping circumstances will align, hoping the universe will finally notice you and grant you what you've been asking for. But the universe has been waiting for you to notice yourself, to remember what you are, to stop begging and start radiating. The abundance identity is not a belief you adopt. It's a truth you embody. It's the shift from "I want to be wealthy" to "I am wealth in human form." And that shift, that recognition, changes everything. Because when you embody abundance, you stop chasing it. When you know you're the source, you stop seeking outside validation. When you recognize your inherent value, you stop trying to prove yourself worthy of receiving. You just are. And from that state of being, abundance flows effortlessly, not because you manifested it, but because you stopped blocking it by pretending to be something you're not. So here's your mirror ritual, and this is where the identity shift becomes permanent. Every single morning, I want you to stand in front of a mirror, look yourself in the eyes and say, "I am wealth in human form." Not "I will be," not "I'm trying to be," not "I hope to be." I am, present tense, declarative, certain. I am wealth in human form. Say it until you feel it. Say it until your nervous system believes it. Say it until the beggar dies and the sun remembers itself. And watch what happens. Watch how opportunities start appearing. Watch how money starts flowing. Watch how people start treating you differently, not because anything external changed, but because you stopped radiating lack and started radiating abundance. You stopped identifying as someone trying to get wealth and started identifying as someone who is wealth. And the world responds to identity, not effort. The beggar can beg for a lifetime and stay broke. The sun can exist for a moment and transform everything around it. Same universe, different identity, different reality. You've been the beggar long enough. You've held out your cup, hoping the world would fill it. You've waited for permission, for alignment, for the right moment to finally claim what's yours. But there's no permission needed. There's no waiting required. There's no external validation necessary, because you are not becoming abundant. You are remembering that you already are. The gold was never beneath the steps. It was never in the future. It was never conditional on anything external. It's been you this entire time. You are the treasure. You are the source. You are the abundance you've been seeking. So stop manifesting, stop chasing, stop begging, and start being. Be the sun, be the gold, be the wealth that's been hiding in plain sight, disguised as a human convinced they were lacking. You are not lacking. You never were. You were just convinced to forget your true nature. But now you remember, and everything changes when the sun realizes it's the sun. You are wealth in human form. Say it, feel it, embody it, and watch your external reality reorganize itself to match the truth you've finally recognized. The beggar died, the sun awakened, and the abundance that was always there finally had permission to be seen. Chapter 17. The Flow of Faith. There's a paradox at the heart of wealth that nobody talks about. The moment you finally let go is the moment everything comes to you. The instant you stop controlling is when you gain true power. The second you surrender is when you win. This makes no logical sense. Everything you've been taught says the opposite. Control your destiny, force the outcome, make it happen, hustle harder, never give up. All variations of the same message. Power comes from gripping tighter, but the truly wealthy know a secret. The tightest grip creates the most resistance. The hardest push generates the strongest pushback. The most control produces the least flow. Faith is the final stage of power, not faith as wishful thinking, not faith as blind hope, but faith as the deep knowing that you've done your part, planted your seeds, and now you trust the universe to handle the harvest. This is the flow of faith, and it's the bridge between human effort and divine timing. Think about a river. When water tries to force its way through a narrow passage, it creates turbulence, chaos, resistance. But when water surrenders to the path of least resistance, it flows effortlessly around obstacles, carving canyons over time, reaching the ocean inevitably. You've been the turbulent water, fighting, forcing, controlling, micromanaging every detail of your financial journey. And in that control, you've created massive resistance. You've blocked the natural flow. You've turned abundance into struggle. But what if you became the surrendered water? What if you did your part, set the vision, took aligned action, showed up consistently, and then released the outcome? What if you trusted that the universe has a timing you can't see, a plan you can't comprehend, and a path you haven't imagined? Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means giving over. Giving over control to something bigger than your limited perspective, trusting that you're being guided, supported, orchestrated by forces beyond your comprehension. This is deeply spiritual territory, and it's where the atheists lose their way and the faithful find their fortune, because faith, real faith, is the recognition that you are not doing this alone, that you are part of a larger intelligence, a cosmic choreography, a divine unfolding that's been working on your behalf since before you were born. Every delay you experienced, protection. Every door that closed, redirection. Every failure you endured, preparation. All of it, orchestrated not against you, but for you. But you can't see that when you're gripping, controlling, demanding it happen on your timeline. Surrender allows you to see the perfection in the unfolding. Faith allows you to trust the timing even when it doesn't match your plan. And flow allows you to move with grace instead of grinding with resistance. So here's your nightly ritual, and this is where you practice the art of letting go. Every night before sleep, I want you to do a letting go meditation. It's simple but profound. Lie down, close your eyes, Take 3 deep breaths, and then mentally review everything you're trying to control. The money you're chasing, the outcome you're forcing, the timeline you're demanding, the people you're trying to convince, the circumstances you're attempting to manipulate. See them all clearly. Feel the weight of trying to control them. Notice how exhausting it is, how much energy you're spending trying to make things happen on your terms. And then, one by one, release them. Say, I release my need to control this. I trust divine timing. I surrender the outcome. Feel the weight lift. Feel the grip loosen. Feel the peace that comes from trusting instead of forcing. This doesn't mean you stop taking action. It means you stop attaching your worth to the outcome. It means you do your part with excellence and then trust that the universe is handling its part with perfection. Because here's what happens when you surrender. Space opens up. When you're gripping tightly, there's no room for miracles. There's no space for divine intervention. There's no opening for something better than what you imagined to enter. But when you let go, when you create space through faith, the universe can deliver in ways you never conceived, opportunities you never saw coming, resources from directions you weren't looking, timing that makes sense only in retrospect. Surrender is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the recognition that you are powerful and you are supported, that you are the creator and you are being created through, that you are in charge of your actions but not in charge of the entire universe's response. Faith says, I've done my part. I've planted seeds with intention. I've watered them with consistency. I've cleared the weeds of doubt. Now I trust the sun, the soil, and the seasons to bring the harvest in divine timing. And divine timing is always perfect, even when it doesn't feel like it, even when it seems delayed, even when it looks like nothing is happening. The universe is working behind the scenes, arranging people, circumstances, and synchronicities in ways your limited human perspective can't track. Your job is to keep showing up, keep creating value, keep radiating abundance, and then release the outcome. Trust the timing, surrender the control. The flow of faith is not passive. It's the most active form of trust. It's working with unwavering commitment while holding outcomes with an open hand. It's giving your absolute best and then letting the universe decide how it unfolds. And when you master this, when you can hold vision without attachment, take action without control, create with commitment without desperation, you enter a state of flow so powerful that money can't help but find you, not because you forced it, but because you created the space for it, not because you controlled every variable, but because you trusted the intelligence orchestrating variables you can't see. Let go. Trust the timing. Surrender the outcome. This is the final stage of power. This is the flow of faith. And it's the secret the truly abundant have known forever. The universe rewards those who trust it more than those who try to control it. So tonight, practice letting go, release the grip, trust divine timing, and feel the power that comes not from holding tight, but from flowing free. Chapter 18, The Wealth Conductor. There was once a river that flowed through a valley, bringing life to everything it touched. Trees flourished along its banks. Animals drank from its waters. Villages thrived on its abundance. The river was generous, constantly moving, constantly giving, constantly flowing. But one year the river became afraid. If I keep giving, I'll run out. If I keep flowing, I'll be empty. I need to hold on to what I have. So the river stopped flowing. It became still. It hoarded its water. And within months, the river became a swamp. The water grew stagnant. Disease spread. The trees died. The animals left. The villages abandoned the valley. And the river, desperate to protect itself by holding on to everything, lost everything because it stopped flowing. Then the rains came. The river remembered what it was. Not a container, but a channel. Not a destination, but a conductor. And the moment it started flowing again, life returned. Abundance restored. The valley flourished. Because the river was never meant to hold the water. It was meant to move it. You are that river, and money is the water. It's not meant to stop with you. It's meant to flow through you. You are not the destination of wealth. You are the conductor of it. This is the most misunderstood principle of abundance. People think wealth is about accumulation, about getting and keeping, about building bigger storage for more stuff. But that's the swamp mentality. That's stagnation disguised as security. True wealth is about circulation, about receiving and giving in equal measure, about being the channel through which abundance flows to others. Because when you circulate wealth, you create current, and current generates more flow. But when you hoard wealth, you create blockage, and blockage stops the flow entirely. Think about your body. Blood flows through you, bringing oxygen and nutrients to every cell. If the blood stopped flowing, if it pooled in one area and refused to move, you'd die. The same blood that gives you life would kill you through stagnation. Money works the same way. It's energy, and energy must move. When it flows through you, when you receive it and give it, earn it and spend it, accumulate it and circulate it, you create a vortex of abundance that pulls more toward you. But when you dam it up, when you hoard it out of fear, when you grip it so tightly that nothing can move in or out, you create the swamp. You create stagnation. You kill the very thing you were trying to protect. Now, I'm not saying to be reckless with money. I'm not suggesting you give away everything you have. Wisdom requires discernment. But there's a massive difference between conscious circulation and unconscious hoarding. Between strategic accumulation and fearful gripping. Conscious circulation says, I receive abundantly and I give generously because I trust the flow. I save wisely and I spend joyfully. I invest strategically and I donate meaningfully. I am the conductor, not the dam. The wealthy understand this. They don't just accumulate. They circulate. They tip generously. They invest in others. They create opportunities for people. They move money through the economy with intention and grace. And because they're conducting the flow, more flow comes to them. It's not karma, it's physics. What you circulate circulates back. What you hoard stagnates. What you release returns multiplied. So here's your daily exercise. I want you to commit to a daily act of giving. Not huge, not sacrificial, symbolic, intentional, circulation-oriented. Buy someone's coffee, tip generously, donate to a cause, send money to a friend who needs it, pay for the car behind you in the drive-thru, give to someone asking for help. It doesn't matter how much. What matters is the act of moving energy. Every single day, circulate, be the conductor. Remind yourself that money is not meant to stop with you. It's meant to flow through you to create more flow for everyone. And here's what will happen. Your capacity to receive will expand because the universe trusts generous people with abundance. It knows they won't hoard it, block it, or stop the flow. It knows they'll keep it moving, keep it circulating, keep it alive. But the universe hesitates to send abundance to fearful people. Not as punishment, but as protection. Because giving abundance to someone who hoards is like giving blood to a body with a clot. It doesn't help, it hurts. So prove to the universe that you're a conductor, not a dam. Show it that you understand wealth is flow, not storage. Demonstrate that you can be trusted with more because you'll keep it moving. And watch what happens. Watch how the flow increases. Watch how opportunities multiply. Watch how money starts showing up from unexpected sources. Not because you gave it away strategically, but because you reminded the universe and yourself that you're open, that you're a channel, that you're here to conduct abundance, not contain it. Generosity is not loss, it's circulation. And circulation is what keeps the river alive, the blood flowing and the wealth multiplying. The swamp died because it forgot to flow. The river thrived because it remembered what it was. A conductor, not a container. You are the river. Money is the water. And the valley is waiting for you to remember that your job is not to hoard what flows to you, but to keep it moving so everyone can drink. Give daily, circulate intentionally, conduct generously, and trust that the more you flow, the more will flow to you, because the universe rewards conductors, not dams, and you just became the most powerful conductor in the valley. Chapter 19. The Ascension Loop. Here's what they don't tell you about wealth. It's not a destination. It's an infinite spiral. Every level of abundance you reach reveals new lessons, new challenges, new opportunities for humility and expansion. You don't arrive at wealth and stop growing. You arrive and realize the game just leveled up. The questions get deeper, the responsibilities get greater, the person you need to become gets more refined. This is the ascension loop, and it's the difference between people who achieve temporary success and people who build lasting legacy. Most people think wealth is the final boss, that once you hit a certain number in your bank account, you've won, you're done, you can coast, you've made it. But anyone who's actually achieved significant wealth knows that number just opened a new door. Behind that door is a whole new level of consciousness you're being called to embody, a new version of yourself waiting to emerge, a new lesson the universe is ready to teach. The ascension loop works like this. You reach a level of abundance. You feel the expansion. You celebrate. And then, subtly, life presents you with a challenge designed to humble you, refine you, and prepare you for the next level. Maybe you make your first million and suddenly you're faced with the lesson of stewardship. How do you manage this wealth responsibly? How do you not let it corrupt you? How do you stay grounded when everything around you changes? Maybe you build a successful company and the lesson becomes leadership. How do you empower others without controlling them? How do you build a culture that thrives without you? How do you create something bigger than yourself? Maybe you achieve financial freedom and the lesson becomes purpose. Now that survival is handled, what are you actually here to do? What legacy are you building? What's the point of all this abundance if it doesn't serve something greater? Each level brings new lessons, and the lessons aren't punishments, they're invitations. Invitations to become more conscious, more compassionate, more capable of holding greater levels of power and responsibility. This is why some people self-sabotage when they reach success. They're not ready for the next lesson. They haven't developed the consciousness required to hold that level of wealth. So their subconscious creates chaos to bring them back to a level they can handle. But you're different. You're here because you understand that wealth is not the goal. Evolution is, expansion is, becoming is. You're not asking, what am I gaining? You're asking, who am I becoming? And that question, that one sacred question, changes everything. Because what am I gaining keeps you focused on accumulation, on external validation, on numbers that can always be bigger, which means you're never satisfied. But who am I becoming keeps you focused on evolution, on internal transformation, on the version of yourself that's being forged through every challenge, every lesson, every level of the ascension loop. Here's your weekly ritual. Every 7 days, I want you to reflect on this question. Who am I becoming? Not how much have I made, not what have I accomplished, but who are you becoming through this journey? Are you becoming more generous, more patient, more trusting, more humble, more powerful in the way that serves others, not just yourself? Are you becoming someone your younger self would be proud of, someone your future self is calling you toward, someone who can hold abundance without letting it define you? This reflection keeps you in the loop. It reminds you that wealth is not the destination, consciousness is. That success is not the trophy, growth is. That abundance is not the endpoint, It's the fuel for your continued evolution. The ascension loop is poetic, it's eternal, it's luminous, because it recognizes that you are not a fixed being trying to acquire things. You are an infinite being, expanding through experience, and every level of wealth is just another classroom in the University of Consciousness. Some lessons are humbling. You'll make mistakes with money. You'll trust the wrong people. You'll make investments that fail. And those experiences will teach you discernment, wisdom, and resilience. Some lessons are expansive. You'll create opportunities you never imagined. You'll impact lives in ways you never planned. You'll discover capacities within yourself you didn't know existed. But all lessons serve the same purpose: to refine you into someone capable of holding more wealth, more power, more influence, more responsibility, more love, more impact. And here's the beautiful part. The ascension loop never ends. There's always another level, always another lesson, always another version of yourself waiting to be born. You don't graduate from wealth, you evolve through it. You don't master abundance, you dance with it. You don't conquer the game. You become worthy of playing at higher and higher levels. So when the next challenge comes, and it will, don't see it as failure. See it as the loop inviting you upward. When the next lesson arrives, and it always does, don't resist it. Embrace it. Ask, who am I becoming through this? Because that's the real wealth, not the money, not the success, not the achievements, but the person you're evolving into, the consciousness you're developing, the wisdom you're embodying. Every level reveals new lessons, and every lesson prepares you for the next level. This is the ascension loop, infinite, eternal, luminous, and you're in it now, dancing through expansion, learning through abundance, becoming through wealth. So ask yourself, who am I becoming? And let that question guide you through every level, every lesson, every loop of this infinite spiral toward the highest version of yourself. Chapter 20, The Final Activation. You are the source. Look at yourself, not at the reflection in the mirror, not at the story you've been carrying, but at the truth beneath all of it. You are the source, not becoming the source, not working toward being the source. You are the source. Right now, this moment, exactly as you are. Everything you've been searching for, the abundance, the freedom, the power, the peace, it's been you all along. You were never trying to become wealthy. You were remembering that you already are. This entire journey, every chapter, every lesson, every exercise has been one long act of remembering, peeling back the layers of programming, conditioning, and lies to reveal what was always true. You are not separate from abundance. You are abundance itself. Think about what you've learned. You saw the illusion of poverty and recognized it was just programming. You reprogrammed your frequency and learned that wealth responds to resonance, not effort. You mastered the mechanics and discovered that aligned action creates inevitable results. You embodied the identity and realized you were the treasure you were seeking. All of it leading here, to this moment, where you finally understand there is no external source of wealth you're trying to access. You are the source. Money doesn't come to you from out there. It flows through you from within. You are the generator. You are the creator. You are the origin point. This is not metaphor. This is physics. This is spirituality. This is the ultimate truth that every mystical tradition, every wisdom teaching, every enlightened being has been trying to tell you. You are not a wave searching for the ocean. You are the ocean experiencing itself as a wave. You are not a drop hoping to merge with the source. You are the source expressing itself as a drop. You are not separate from divinity, from abundance, from infinite potential. You are divinity, abundance, and infinite potential, wearing a human form. And the moment you truly get this, not intellectually, but cellularly, everything changes. The searching stops. The chasing ends. The desperation dissolves because you finally understand there's nowhere to go, nothing to become, no one to prove yourself to. You are already whole. You are already abundant. You are already the source of everything you've been seeking. So what do you do with this recognition? You live it. You embody it. You radiate it. You become the walking, breathing, living expression of abundance consciousness. When you walk into a room, you don't wonder if there's enough. You know you're bringing the enough with you. When you encounter a challenge, you don't panic about lack. You ask, how is my abundance solving this? When you see others struggling, you don't join them in scarcity. You stand in your knowing and invite them to remember their own source nature. You are not chasing abundance. You are abundance. And that shift, that recognition is the final activation. It's the moment the beggar realizes they're the sun. The moment the wave remembers it's the ocean. The moment you stop pretending to be small and allow yourself to be what you've always been. Infinite, powerful, abundant source energy, experiencing life through human form. Here's your final mantra, the one you'll carry with you for the rest of your life. The one that reminds you, in every moment of doubt, who you really are. Say it now. Say it out loud. Say it with every cell of your being. Wealth is my natural state. I am not chasing abundance. I am abundance. Feel it. Let it land. Let it reorganize every atom of your being around this truth. Wealth is my natural state. I am not chasing abundance. I am abundance. This is not affirmation. This is declaration. This is recognition. This is activation. You were never broken. You were never lacking. You were never separate from the abundance you sought. You just forgot. You were trained to forget, programmed to believe you were small, limited, dependent on external circumstances for your worth. But that was the lie. And now you know the truth. And the truth has set you free. You are the source, the origin point, the generator of your reality. And from this day forward, you live from that knowing. You create from that power. You give from that overflow. You receive from that certainty. The journey doesn't end here. It begins here. Because now you're not operating as someone trying to get wealth. You're operating as someone who is wealth, exploring all the ways that abundance wants to express itself through you. Every dollar you earn is just source energy taking physical form. Every opportunity that appears is just the universe reflecting your consciousness back to you. Every person you impact is just another reminder that you are not separate from the abundance that flows through all things. You are the source, and the source is infinite, limitless, eternal, abundant beyond measure. So stop chasing, stop striving, stop pretending you're separate from what you seek, and start radiating, start creating, start living as the source you've always been. This is your final activation. This is your remembering. This is your return to truth. You were never trying to become wealthy. You were remembering that you already are. And now that you remember, there's no going back. There's only forward, only expansion, only the infinite expression of your source nature, creating abundance in every direction. Wealth is your natural state. You are not chasing abundance. You are abundance. And everything, absolutely everything, flows from that truth. Welcome home. You've been the source all along.